The world, to 6-year-old Jamie, was a sprawling estate just outside of Washington, D.C., a place of manicured lawns and silent, watchful security staff. Jamie's father, Caleb, was the axis around which this world, and much of the nation's capital, turned. He was a man of immense power, a kingmaker in a city of would-be kings. Jamie had his father and a young, powerful senator cousin named Julian who lived in the city, but no mother. The stories about her were whispers in the long hallways, varied and tragic. Some said she was a foreign activist, locked in a passionate and dangerous affair with Caleb, who vanished after Jamie was born. Others spoke of a small-town girl swept up in Caleb's world, a romance that ended in a quiet, heartbreaking accident. A darker rumor hinted at a high-society heiress, a forced political marriage, and a subsequent, desperate escape from a golden cage. In every version, Jamie's mother was a ghost, and Caleb was cast in a severe, often unforgiving, light. Jamie, however, knew better. Caleb was the best father in the world. He was strict, pushing Jamie to excel with a tutor who smelled of old books and disappointment, and he had a firm rule against the frosted sugar cookies from the corner bakery. But he was still dad. Without a mother, they were a unit, a two-person army. Jamie's grand plan was to grow up, take care of Caleb in his old age, and maybe even find him a nice new partner. This plan was derailed at a political gala. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and the low hum of powerful conversations, a sound that always quieted when Caleb entered a room. He commanded respect and a healthy dose of fear, yet eyes followed him, drawn to the sharp lines of his suit and the severe grace of his features. Jamie, hidden behind a large potted fern, was attempting to discreetly devour a miniature cupcake when a firm hand lifted the child clean off the floor. Jamie froze, mouth full of frosting, expecting a lecture about spoiling dinner. Instead, Caleb strode across the marble floor and deposited Jamie into the arms of a tall man in a decorated military uniform. Caleb's voice was a low, almost bored drawl as he announced this was the mother Jamie had been asking about. Staring up into the ruggedly handsome face of the man holding him, Jamie saw kind eyes crinkling at the corners. For a moment, the world stopped, and the half-chewed cupcake lodged itself in Jamie's throat. The man, a decorated general named Ryan, reacted with clumsy alarm, patting Jamie's back and pressing a glass of water to the child's lips. His voice, when he spoke, was a deep, soothing rumble, urging Jamie not to be afraid. But Jamie was not just afraid. Jamie was fundamentally, existentially terrified. A mother was supposed to be soft. This person was made of steel and smelled of the outdoors. The ride back to the estate was a blur of confusion. Tucked safely in Caleb's arms, Jamie's mind raced. Once tucked into bed, Jamie snagged Caleb's finger, the question a small, hesitant whisper. Was it true? Did Jamie really not have a mother? The child explained that Caleb didn't need to find a man just to make Jamie feel better. Caleb simply squeezed Jamie's ear, his expression unreadable as he confirmed that Jamie had, in fact, met his mother that evening. That night was filled with a bizarre nightmare. The towering general, Ryan, stood by Jamie's bedside, draped in a flowing gown. His deep voice pitched high and unnatural, demanding to be called Mommy. Jamie woke with a silent scream, bolting from the room without even putting on slippers. The adjoining door to Caleb's master suite was slightly ajar. Peeking inside, Jamie saw the general, clad only in boxer shorts, kneeling by Caleb's bed, trying to climb in. A leg shot out from under the covers, and Ryan was summarily kicked to the floor. Jamie's brain supplied the only possible explanation. Intruder. A piercing shriek tore through the silent house, a cry of an attack on the most powerful man in Washington. Minutes later, the estate was bathed in light. Security personnel moved with quiet efficiency through the halls. Caleb, a silk robe thrown over his shoulders, sat on the edge of his bed, his face a mask of thunderous annoyance. And there, looking utterly mortified, was the intruder, General Ryan. Both he and Jamie were unceremoniously banished from the master suite with a stern glare from Caleb. Out in the hallway, an awkward silence stretched between them. Ryan eventually broke it with a sheepish grin, suggesting that if Jamie couldn't sleep, he would stay with him. Jamie didn't really want the company. Being 6 was old enough to sleep alone, but watching the celebrated general look so lost, Jamie relented. Ryan's hand was large and calloused, a map of a life lived outside these sheltered walls. Yet his touch as he patted Jamie's back was surprisingly gentle. As sleep began to claim the child, Jamie studied him in the dim light filtering through the window. Their eyes were the same shape. Their mouths curved the same way. A startling thought took root in Jamie's mind. Maybe Ryan wasn't a man at all, just a very, very convincing woman. As Ryan's hand stilled, Jamie, believing him to be asleep, crept closer and whispered into his ear, "Mom?" The general's entire body tensed for a fraction of a second before going still again. Jamie, mistaking it for a twitch, snuggled closer, comforted by a scent so different from Caleb's, a scent that Jamie decided must be what a mother smelled like. The next morning, this comforting illusion was shattered. Through the window, Jamie saw Ryan in the backyard, shirtless, going through a punishing series of military drills. The muscles in his back and chest were undeniable proof. A wail of betrayal ripped through the room. Caleb was a liar. The general was a man. Jamie's feelings had been toyed with. It took 3 candy apples and a theatrical threat of a spanking from Caleb to soothe the child's outrage. With the fact of Ryan's gender firmly, if confusingly, established, a new question arose. How could 2 men have a child? Jamie posed this question to the private tutor, a man who boasted of having read thousands of books. The tutor's face turned a brilliant shade of crimson before he dismissed Jamie from the study to stand in the hall, muttering about the incorrigible nature of today's youth. Frustrated, Jamie sought out Julian. During a visit to the capital, Jamie pulled his powerful young cousin aside. The child's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, revealing a secret deduced through pure, undeniable logic. If men and women could have babies and Jamie looked so much like Ryan, then it was obvious. Jamie was Caleb's baby. Julian's hand jerked, sloshing coffee from his cup onto a stack of official-looking documents. He leaned in, his expression a mixture of amusement and something else Jamie couldn't quite decipher, and made Jamie promise to keep this a secret. Of course, Julian was a liar, too. That evening, Caleb confronted Jamie, holding a thick wooden ruler. He demanded to know who Jamie had been telling such stories to. General Ryan immediately stepped in, placing himself between Caleb and the child, explaining it was just childish innocence. Caleb shot him a look that could freeze fire. He called Ryan by a strange nickname, 3-Ton, and warned him that one more word would get him barred from the bedroom that night. A sudden, brilliant smile lit up Ryan's face. He followed Caleb into the house, tossing Jamie a look that said, "You're on your own." Jamie, bracing for impact, tearfully negotiated the punishment down. Caleb, however, eschewed the ruler and simply used his hand, leaving Jamie's backside stinging. That night, complaining of the discomfort, Jamie managed to squeeze into the bed between the 2 men. Felt right. Both fathers were there. In the middle of the night, a need for the bathroom woke Jamie to find the bed empty. A low murmur came from the corner of the room, where Caleb and Ryan were tangled together on a narrow chaise lounge, the large bed completely ignored. Caleb was hissing at Ryan, calling him a brute and telling him to get off. Sleepily, Jamie shuffled over, asking why they were squished together and if there was room for one more. The room fell silent. Ryan was once again kicked to the floor. The next morning, both Jamie and Ryan were exiled from the main house. Ryan took Jamie back to his own much smaller, simpler home. He tried to convince Jamie to call him Dad too, a suggestion Jamie outwardly rejected but inwardly embraced. The following days were a revelation. A life with Ryan was a life of corner bakery cookies and trips to the county fair, sitting high on his shoulders to see over the crowds. He never forced Jamie to study, but instead showed off his marksmanship at a shooting range. He said it was a family skill. Looking at him, Jamie felt a surge of belonging and finally, quietly, called him 3-ton Dad. Ryan's face broke into a joyous grin, and he tossed Jamie into the air, his laughter echoing around them. The fun ended abruptly when Jamie, after overindulging in fair food, ended up with a severe stomachache. Caleb came to retrieve the child, clicking his tongue in disapproval. Ryan looked down, taking all the blame. This time, Caleb didn't argue. He just told them both to pack their things and come home. As they walked back to the main house in the fading light of dusk, Jamie, perched on Ryan's shoulders, watched as Ryan's hand secretly found Caleb's. Caleb's expression remained stern, but he didn't pull away. Life with two fathers was a chaotic, happy dream. Ryan became the buffer for Caleb's strictness, often taking the blame for Jamie's minor transgressions, always with that same goofy, apologetic smile. Then, just after Jamie's 7th birthday, the dream was interrupted. Ryan was being deployed. Caleb banished him from the bedroom again. Jamie found Ryan sitting on the steps outside the door, looking smaller than the child had ever seen him. Jamie sat down beside him, asking why he had to go. Ryan explained that protecting the country was his duty, so that other kids like Jamie could live without fear. Jamie understood the words, but the understanding did little to ease the ache of impending loss. Leaning against him, Jamie fell asleep, later hearing the faint sound of the door opening and feeling gentle arms lifting him into bed. Through half-closed eyes, Jamie saw Ryan holding Caleb, pressing a kiss to his face with a look of such profound reverence that it made Jamie's heart ache. The child burrowed under the covers, feeling a small sense of accomplishment. At least Jamie had gotten him back in the room. From the top of the estate wall, Caleb held Jamie as they watched the military convoy disappear into the distance. Jamie, voice muffled against Caleb's shoulder, asked when 3-ton Dad would be back. Caleb's reply was quiet and distant. When you're bigger, he'll be back. 3 years passed. 10 years old, Jamie was bigger. News arrived that General Ryan's unit had achieved a major victory. Caleb's lips curved into a rare, genuine smile. Jamie, ecstatic, raced to tell Julian the news, explaining that Ryan would be home soon to take Jamie horseback riding. Julian smiled, a little too brightly, and agreed to help Jamie get out of tutoring the next day for a city festival. That night, Jamie slept at Julian's residence, too excited and exhausted to register the strange, sad way Julian looked at him before he fell asleep. When Jamie awoke, the world had shattered. General Ryan was dead. A frantic rush back to the estate revealed Caleb standing motionless by a window. Jamie's question about Ryan's return was choked with a sob. Caleb turned, his face ashen, and said that Ryan had promised he would come back alive. Caleb's hand, when Jamie took it, was trembling. They were both clinging to a desperate hope, a prayer that it was all a lie. The hope died when the casket arrived. The stoic control Caleb always maintained crumbled into dust. He had the casket brought into the house and allowed no one near it, not even Jamie. He was a man hollowed out, his formidable composure shattered into a million pieces. This had to be a nightmare. Jamie closed their eyes, willing it to be so, willing to wake up to Ryan's booming laugh and Caleb's fond exasperation. But when Jamie opened them, the only sounds were the muffled sobs of the household staff. The finality of it was crushing. Jamie would never see him again. The next day, Caleb emerged, looking like a ghost. He led Jamie to the casket to say a final goodbye. The face within was still, marked with scars Jamie had never seen. Just then, a senior aide of Julian's arrived. His usual pleasant demeanor was replaced by a cruel, sharp-edged authority. He announced that Caleb was under arrest for treason. Caleb let out a cold, bitter laugh, murmuring about how the puppy he'd raised had finally grown teeth. He assured Jamie that everything would be all right, that he would come back. As they led him away, Jamie fought against the agents holding them back, screaming for their father. The estate was ransacked. The staff was dismissed or arrested. The grand, vibrant home became an empty, echoing tomb. Jamie found their way to Caleb's room and cried into his pillow until there were no tears left. Sneaking out a back gate, Jamie heard the whispers on the street. Caleb was a traitor, a wolf who had been plotting a coup for years. They called him a usurper, not of true political lineage but an adopted son who had overstepped his bounds. A group of school rivals, led by a cousin, cornered Jamie, taunting the child, calling Caleb a traitor and Jamie the child of a traitor, a nameless bastard. Raw grief turned to rage, and Jamie launched at them, fighting with desperate fury but ultimately overwhelmed by their numbers. Julian's aide appeared again, stopping the fight and escorting Jamie to the Capitol. Julian was at his desk, the picture of calm authority. Jamie's plea, the insistence that Caleb was innocent, died in their throat. The look Julian gave them was one of utter indifference, the cold glance of a stranger. Then he smiled, that familiar, false smile. "Why do you call me brother?" he asked, his voice soft and venomous. "You're just a fool, the bastard child of a secret affair." The truth, when it came, was another blow. Jamie was not Caleb's biological child. They were the child of Ryan's sister and one of Caleb's closest friends, both soldiers killed in action years ago. Caleb had taken Jamie in, claiming the child as his own. That was why Jamie looked so much like Ryan. He was Jamie's uncle. Julian sneered, telling Jamie that pretending to care for the child had been the most tedious part of his long game against Caleb. He kicked Jamie, the blow to the stomach stealing the air from their lungs. He promised to make Jamie watch as he had Caleb executed. Jamie was thrown into a dilapidated, abandoned building on the Capitol grounds. The room was bare, the wind whistling through broken windows. Days blurred into a nightmare of fear and loneliness. The guards were cruel, offering scraps of moldy food, taunting Jamie to bark like a dog for more. But the tears had run dry. Crying only made them laugh harder. Jamie learned to fight using the skills Ryan had taught them. Jamie learned to be silent. Jamie learned to survive. Caleb had promised he would come back for them. That promise was the only thing left. One night, a figure stood in the shadows of the room. Jamie grabbed a sharpened piece of pottery, ready to defend himself. The figure stepped into the moonlight. It was Caleb. He was thinner, his face etched with exhaustion, but his eyes were full of a fierce love. Jamie dropped the makeshift weapon and flew into his arms, sobbing silently into his chest. Caleb held on tight, murmuring that he was here. There was no time for explanations. Caleb handed Jamie over to a stranger, a loyalist, promising that he had something important to do. He was going to get 3-ton Dad. They would be a family again. Jamie was taken to a small, isolated farmhouse, a safe haven Caleb had prepared long ago. The physical comforts, warm food, a soft bed, did little to soothe the gnawing anxiety. 2 months passed. Every day, Jamie climbed the tallest tree in the yard, scanning the empty dirt road for any sign of them. Hope soured into fear. Fear that they weren't coming back. Fear of being forgotten. One afternoon, a patch of moss on a branch gave way. Jamie slipped, tumbling through the air, bracing for the hard impact of the ground. Strong arms caught the child. Jamie looked up into a familiar, smiling face, now crisscrossed with new, pale scars. "Careful there, kiddo," Ryan said, his voice the kindest sound in the world. Jamie clung to him, tears blurring the image of Caleb standing in the doorway of the farmhouse, a soft smile on his face. The wind rustled the leaves in the trees, and in the dappled sunlight, they were finally, truly all together.